Hey, 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 happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, shockingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everybody. Tonight is Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. This is live show 1215. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, normally we talk about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then we will either look at a game or maybe we'll talk about a topic. Every once in a while, I'll just kind of hang out and chew the fat with chats. Well, tonight, we're actually going to dive on into a special Gen Con 2025 special edition of the Paizo Preview. That's right. It is the Paizo Preview tonight. In fact, we're going to be looking at so much Paizo goodness, there is no news tonight. You're like, zoinks, what? No news. That is correct. There is no news this evening. Pretty wild. Once again, like I said, if you're not overly familiar with watching the stream, it's super, super casual. We just hang out, having fun. It's not rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever. All right, so I got to say, some odd changes going on. We'll get to that in just a moment. But of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you will not find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And of course, because this is a live show, there is chat available. You have to be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. But if you check that box and you want to say howdy, maybe get a question, comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my very best to respond as I watch a little spider dropping down. In the kingdom of spiders, weirdly enough, my dad came down here to spray for spiders, which I never do. I just spray some mint around because it kind of chases them away. I'm never looking to kill them. But yeah, kind of weird. I haven't seen many spiders. Comes down to spray, and it's like, oh, look, there's one. Anywho, so there is chat available. And strangely enough, chat is off to acting odd again. So if you follow the stream, you know I always open up chat by saying, hey, happy Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then I tell you what's on the agenda. And that's about it. But I have a message that pops up just as we start. It used to be back in the day, if I type that in and then suddenly the stream started, it would disappear. And then for about a year, I could type it in ahead of time. Stream starts. I just hit enter. Boom, pops up. All of a sudden today, it disappeared. I'm like, what the hell? Damn it. So anyway, thought that was kind of strange. So let's see who we got in chat. So first out the gate is our good friend of the show and chat moderator, the Madman. Keith Ulu's with us, as is Semper Buffo, Roger Perdome, Wallona's Cave, Captain Finity Time Travel Police, Stephen from Roll for Combat, Michael Berry. Let's see, who else we got? Robert Santon is with us, as is Kathy Evans. Now we'll take a wild guess. The lovely and talented Miss Sarah D, another of our chat moderators, might be hanging out in the shadows. Maybe. Flint Fireforge is also popping on into chat. Keith Lewis says, no canoes is good canoes with Gary Canoe. Yeah, I remember that because I'm old. So yes, tonight we're going to be diving on in to do the Paizo preview. But first, did want to mention who I've got interviews or at least to chat at Gen Con. I've got these things lined up. These are the companies I'll be talking with. All Play. All Play is a board game company. From my knowledge, they make all ages games, and they tend to make, I don't want to say, I think they refer to them as micro games, but they're really not micro games like many of us recall the little tiny clamshell or little box games, or even Ziploc bagged games that we would see as far as micro games, but they are small footprint games. They're actually having a party on Wednesday that Elliot and I are going to be attending. Also going to be talking with our friends over at Chaosium Inc., Cubicle 7 Games, Free League Publishing, Cobalt Press. We have a party we'll be going to that's being hosted by Lucky Duck Games. They have a Sims board game, which is coming out. Interesting. That's what the party is for. I'm also going to chat with Mighty Boards, Monty Cook Games, MythWorks, who you may be familiar with them because of the pretty impressive looking The Wild Sea, which maybe we'll get an opportunity to take a peek at. I'm also going to be chatting with Rebellion Unplugged because they are going to be releasing the next edition of Tunnels and Trolls. And that's what I'm meeting with them to talk about. And funny enough, their marketing person I know from Osprey Games. They used to be the Osprey Games marketing person. So you may have noticed kind of we don't really share anything from Osprey Games as far as like first looks, reviews and stuff. Typical situation. The marketing person I had a relationship with goes and moves on to another company. The replacement, not a clue. It's not a clue. So yeah, I'm used to seeing that. Also going to meet with Jess Carrier over at Thunderworks, who make role player, cartographers, Stone Spire architects, role player adventures. I think the Madman has mentioned that they play role player adventures, and it's pretty good. So we are going to talk with Jess over at Thunderworks, and weirdly enough, we're doing a Paizo preview tonight. I don't have anything set up with Paizo. Usually they reach out, but if I remember, I think last year it was kind of last minute. So if I don't hear anything by Thursday, I will probably reach out because I would like to take a little bit of time to chat about the new Starfinder 2nd Edition, which you're going to see the player core tonight. I have already shared a 40-minute first look into the player core. So if you are interested in seeing far more in-depth discussion of what this player core book has, check that out, because we're going to kind of quickly flip through that since I've already devoted an entire standalone video to it. So there is that. RuneForge Tabletop Gaming has popped on in. Semper Buffo asks, Modifius? No, I have nothing set up with Modifius. Nothing at all. Steven says they've got something set up with Paizo. So the one company I don't have something set up for, they have a meeting with. Yeah, but you do business. You release product for Pathfinder. course, Stephen from Roll for Combat has news to share. We will talk about that tomorrow because, once again, as I mentioned, no news section of the show tonight. So let's jump on in. Let's start taking a peek. First thing we're going to take a look at is the Pathfinder Flip-Mat Siege. Now, keep in mind, all of this is arriving in stores on July 31st. All right, come on. There we go. It's like, okay, how about changing over to the other camera? Come on. Something to keep in mind, as I point out, our friends over at Paizo Inc. have sent along these review items, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. It's important for you to keep that in mind. And of course, as we take a look at the books, we're not going to look at each and every page. We do have a couple of adventures to take a peek at too. So if you're a player, you have been warned. So Roger Perdome says, no news, but will there be an intermission? I guess you'll just have to wait and find out. All right, so here we've got the Flip-Mat Siege. This day, we fight. You haven't lost the battle yet. When the PCs need to take over a dangerous, guarded location, spread this out on the table and roll initiative. One side takes place before battle begins and features a walled fortification with a moat facing invaders armed with ballista and catapult. The other side shows the same scene, but after the battle has been raging and blood has been spilled. Draw your sword and charge into the fray with Pathfinder Flip-Mat Siege. Take a look at the first side. Of course, these are 3 panels by 3 panels. So there is our moat. There is our fortified walls. Got a bit of a path here. Here we've got our catapult. And this is after the battle has been raging. So are these supposed to be the stones from the catapult? Because they're certainly not going very far. The walls have been battered down. So there you have it. As I like to point out, you can write on these with wet and dry erase markers, even permanent marker, as long as you use a wet erase marker on top of it to be able to wipe it clean. And of course, if you play fantasy miniatures games, these flip mats work very nicely for those. So once again, this is the Siege Pathfinder Flip-Mat. Carries an MSRP of $19.99. You'll also be able to grab just the PDF for $9.99. Moving right along, we're going to take a look at the eagerly anticipated Battlecry for Pathfinder. I should mention Sammy's review is finished for this. So I might actually post her review of Battlecry maybe tomorrow, maybe Thursday. Let's take a look at the back here. Report for duty. When diplomacy between nations fails and neither side wishes to back down, war is the inevitable result. Yes, insert the fallout. You know, war never changes. You know, I do it all the time. From border skirmishes to large-scale invasions, conflict comes in many forms. The perfect chance for heroes to win glory. Help steer the flow of battle as a cunning commander. Have a cunning plan, me lord. Or defend your allies as an indomitable guardian. Augment your power with archetypes that allow you to raise a small battalion of undead soldiers or wield a personal siege weapon. A new larger-than-life ancestry, an armory of magic weapons, and rules for running combat alongside troops that you command. Galarian's generals need you, so heed the battle cry. Ethan says, right, that's that then. All right, first thing we're going to do, let's take a peek at the credits page. A lot of folks worked very hard to bring this to life. So it looks like we're going to start off with a little bit of an introduction. I believe this is going to be more fiction than anything else, because it's a reporter's journey into war, part 1. Then we have Conquering Heroes. That's where we're going to see our new ancestry. I believe it's the Jotunborn. I have not taken a peek to see how it's being pronounced by the fine folks over at Paizo Inc. But it should be pronounced somewhere along those lines. We'll also have our 2 new classes, Commander and Guardian. We have some new archetypes, instruments of battle, the art of war. This is probably where we get the new skirmish rules and probably mass battle rules. I have to say, if you were watching last week and I shared a news piece about Battlecry, I did share some images from interior pages of the book from the PDF that was sent along. And I got to say, there was a lot of blood being spilled in some of that artwork. I was kind of like, here, you see some blood splash in there. That's not even the goriest that I saw, which is cool. I have no beef with that. Hector Alvarez, and I think somebody else popped into chat, didn't they? Maybe not. Well, saying hello to Hector Alvarez then. Welcome aboard. Madman says, perfect timing. They've been considering picking up Battlecry. Jess Perk 888 is with us. I believe this is a first-time visit in chat because I don't recognize that nickname. So welcome aboard. Make yourself comfortable. So here we've got the Jotunborn, forged from the blood of an ancient group of giants called Titans, tasked to watch over the universe. Then we've got our commander, and we've got our guardian. Commander is a battlefield leader whose clever use of tactics and knowledge of war can turn the tide of any fight. And then we've got the guardian, who's a defensive combatant who focuses on squeezing every last drop of protection from their armor. So the Jotunborn get attribute boosts and strength, wisdom, and a free boost. They get a negative modifier, a flaw, to their charisma. Key attribute for the commander is intelligence. Guardian is strength. Secondary is for strength or dexterity or charisma for the commander. Constitution or wisdom for the guardian. So we're going to get some information about the Jotunborn, info about their society. Looks like they've got low light vision. Yep. Here we have their ancestry feats. Yep, that's what I thought. Such as Caretaker's Restoration, Plane Stepping Dash. 5th level, we've got Call the First Tools. Planar Resistance. Your body has adapted to the variety of harsh climes that you encounter in your travels. You treat temperature-based environmental effects as if they were one step less extreme. Incredible cold or heat becomes extreme. Extreme cold or heat becomes severe, and so on. Additionally, the planar energies that move through you allow you to further adapt your body with some concentration and effort. During your daily preparations, choose either cold or fire. You gain resistance to that damage equal to half your level. Nice. So, of course, we go up to 17th level feats. Then we get some battle backgrounds. such as the battle mechanic, quartermaster. An army marches on its stomach, and you've been on the forefront of ensuring your troops were properly fed and supplied. Through your logistical expertise, you understand that it can be vital to keep a tight fist around necessary supplies. And when soldiers ask for items without the proper clearance, you know how to turn them away with a withering look. Choose 2 attribute boosts. One must be to intelligence or charisma, and one is a free boost. You're trained in the intimidation skill and the legal lore skill. You gain the intimidating glare skill feat. Nice. So yes, Jesper C 888 is a longtime viewer, first time visitor in chat. All right, well, you'll find everybody's pretty nice around here. Well, except for me. I'm pretty cruel to folks in chat, but no, I'm not. All right, so we've got the class features for the commander. Usually we'll have, with a new class, we'll have about 8 pages or so devoted to them. Here's the Guardian. Death and danger from all manner of enemies threaten all that you and your companions hold dear. But you are the shield, the steel wall that holds back the tide of opposition. You're clad in armor you wear like a second skin and can angle it to protect yourself and your allies from damage and keep foes at bay. Allies look to you to safeguard them, whether they stand beside you on the battlefield or remain on the back lines. And enemies see you for the imposing threat you are. Be it a friend or foe, your presence is difficult to ignore. So, of course, this is the class that they're plugging the new ancestry into. So, in future Pathfinder releases, we'll probably see this character. So here we've got our Guardian feats. At first level, we've got things like Bodyguard, Defensive Advance, Larger Than Life, Long Distance Taunt. You can draw the wrath of your foes even at a great distance. When you use Taunt, you can choose a target within 120 feet. So some of the level 6 feats: Reflective Shield, Ring Their Bell. Requirement is you're wearing medium or heavy armor and you taunted. Oh, and your taunted enemy is off guard because it didn't target you or include you in an area effect. It says using your armor, you pummel a foe who isn't focused on you in the head or face to stagger them. That's kind of cool. It's only one action. Get behind me. Blanket defense, bloody denial, never. Or we get a sample Guardian. Looks like it's a human. And it is an intimidating protector. Multi-class Guardian characters. Multi-class Commander characters. New archetypes, I do believe. Eldori Duelist, Crossbow Infiltrator, Field Propagandist, Iridian Choirmaster, Necrologist. That's kind of cool art there. Artwork looks really, really good. We get some action shots. I know some folks tend to kind of downplay the artwork in a lot of Pathfinder releases. Not enough action, not enough movement. Well, we're getting some here. So here we've got other character options. So we have the first, I'd say almost half. Looks like it's all devoted to the new classes, as well as the like new ancestry, as well as probably nearly every class getting some new archetypes that they can utilize. Kevin R. Smith is with us in chat. Welcome, Kevin. Good to see you once again. So we have siege rituals. We should be moving, I was going to say, we should be moving into gear. Here we have the instruments of battle, siege weapons, battle vehicles, the armory. We have the arcane ram, clockwork ballista, mud maker, the shattered pult. So we have air vehicles, such as the air cycle, the flying fortress, the Nighthawk. That's an air cycle there. Sea vehicles. More of the fiction. So we have the battle loot, gaff scourge, bladed gauntlet, lion scythe, war lance, Eldori dueling sword, the blade sweeper. We've got a gauntlet bow. So not a ton of new weapons and armor, but got to realize we've had quite a few Pathfinder core releases. So there are, and of course, obviously enough, with all the adventure paths and things like that, we've got a lot of items, both magic and non-magic. Here we have whetstones. That's kind of cool. I wonder if these are like runes that you utilize these with a weapon where it takes up like a slot or something. Whetstones are magically enhanced items designed to increase a weapon's effectiveness, sometimes taking the form of literal stones, but often instead constructed of materials with a metaphorical link to the whetstone's effect. They're similar to talismans, though unlike talismans, they don't need to be affixed ahead of time. Whetstones have the whetstone trait. Like I said, we will have a written review from Sammy later on this week. So we've got held items, bedroll of deep slumber. This bedroll is made of especially fine cotton stuffed with goose down, and the hem is inscribed with the sigils of the dreamlands. If you fall asleep in the bedroll, you gain 5 temporary hit points that last while you sleep for 1 minute after you wake up, as well as a +1 status bonus to saves against mental effects that occur while you are asleep, such as the nightmare spell. Items that you wear, or something wears, because that's a barding saddle. I highly doubt one of the player characters is going to wear that. All right, so we got a bit more of the journal, the fiction. Now we'll get into our new rules. So we've got skirmish warfare, skirmisher units, troops and skirmishes, skirmish bonds. If you bond more deeply with the troop, you can choose one special action or ongoing benefit. This comes from training with your troop during a day of downtime. You can change your selection with another day of downtime, but you can't have more than one special bond for your troop at a time. So we have things like coordinated casting, discipline, mobile troop, rage and rule. Oh, another thing for Gen Con, I think I forgot to mention this. Ellie and I were both invited to the Dungeons and Dragons press party on Wednesday, a week from tomorrow. So we're going to go. Why not? We're going to, as I've said before, I have nothing against Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast. So we've got garrisons, Looks like we got special abilities for different types of troops. Angelic Chorus, Animated Army, Apprentice Magician Clique, Archer Regiments. This is kind of cool. Drake Flights, Dwarf Longshot Squad. I don't know. I wouldn't expect dwarfs to be using rifles. I don't know. Roger Perdome says you scream Pathfinder in the local RPG group, and there's, I assume it's RPG, not RPD group, and there's only echo. Oh, there you go, RPG. I don't know about that. I think Pathfinder actually does pretty well as far as sales go. I did see that the new Dungeons and Dragons book, the Eberron book that I shared a news piece, I think that was last week. Turns out it's going to be delayed now because I guess early copies came in and the covers were starting to warp very quickly. So everything's been recalled. So I was like, oh, okay. Roger Perdome says, locally where they're at, you don't get much as far as Pathfinder. I was going to say, Pathfinder has a pretty solid, like, actual, I don't mean actual play, organized play as far as getting adventures out. It's the Pathfinder Society. There's usually 2 adventures a month that will come out. Strangely enough, they send them to me. I don't ever really take a peek at them. So we've got our War Gazetteer. I think this is probably going to talk about the who's at war now. Andorin and Chiliex. I don't know if that's how that's pronounced, but is it a war going on or is it the threat of war? Because I thought that's what's supposed to be going on is this is a new kind of plot line in Pathfinder is war breaking out between those nations. So some more fiction, and then we've got our glossary and index. Looks good. Looks pretty good. Like I said, I will have Sammy's review posted. I'll do it either tomorrow or Thursday. So stay tuned. You'll learn more about Battlecry. This, once again, this arrives on July 31st in stores. Does carry an MSRP of $64.99. You'll be able to grab the PDF on July 31st for $19.99. Now, the last of the Pathfinder items that we have is the next chapter in the Myth Speaker Adventure Path, which is sort of based on Greek myth. It's sort of taking some inspiration, I guess I'll say, from Greek mythology. At least that's what it looked like in the first adventure, which, once again, Sammy has a review of on the horizon. Keith Lewis says they played quite a bit of Pathfinder online. Most people will attest that Pathfinder 2nd Edition, I guess we'll say Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remastered, is very possibly Foundry's best port of any sort of role-playing game. I have heard it is really, really well done. I've gotten a chance to peek at a little bit of it. I haven't dived into it by any stretch. All right, so here we've got our credits page. Sadly, and this does happen sometimes with the soft covers, some of the glue has gotten onto the first page here, so it might be a little tough to make out some of the names. right along here. But a lot of folks work very hard to bring this to life. Let's give credit where credit is due. You know what? Let's take a look at the back. Let's see what's cooking with this. As I mentioned, Greek mythology, fly too close to the sun. The adventurers have become hero gods, and now they must learn to use their powers lest it consume them. Oh, power, I should say. If they're to survive, they must seek a sphinx's sacred wisdom, steal ambrosia from giant bees, reclaim a temple to house their fledgling faithful, and descend into the land of the dead to receive the blessings of the hero gods before them, all while learning the source of their mythic power. The Mythic Speaker Adventure Path continues with Death Sails a Wine Dark Sea, a complete adventure for 4th to 6th level characters. Roger Perdome says, every weekend it's Warhammer almost everywhere. And you've also got, I guess, in the Montreal area. I would say, from my experience with game shops, if they sell a lot of Warhammer stuff, they're going to focus on Warhammer. If they sell a lot of Games Workshop stuff, their focus will be on Games Workshop stuff. It's just a higher price point for them as opposed to like role-playing game books and such. Now, if the game store focuses more on like board games, role-playing games, you're going to find way, way more people playing role-playing games, getting together, playing board games and such. So Tessie Trekkie says, buttload of Pathfinder. Yeah, it depends. I believe a lot of comic book stores that sell role-playing games also will have pretty solid organized play from both Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder. All right. So this is broken up into 3 chapters. Start off with a riddle of immortality. Player characters will be 4th level, or at least 4th level. When someone asks if you're a god, do you say yes? At least in this adventure path, the assumed answer is yes. Early in chapter 1, the PCs begin attracting a cult following that recognizes them as the newest hero gods of Iblitos. For one, the font's kind of small and the color of the text isn't exact. It's not black. By chapter 2, the PCs have direct control of their cult using the rules for cult management that begin on page 62. All right. Okay. So it's talking about the rules. Says, that said, some groups might not enjoy running cults. It might be they'd rather focus on the adventure. Perhaps some players are happy to roleplay in a fantasy world that has gods, but they aren't comfortable actually masquerading as godlike beings. Whatever the reason, it's possible to dial back the cult aspects, and gives us some examples how to do that. So chapter 1, riddle of immortality. Remember, we're going to encounter some spoilers here, even though I have no idea about this adventure. The PC's critical contributions in saving Balix from aiding civilians to performing a ritual that channeled a phoenix's cleansing flame to dispel the violent urges infecting the city rightfully earns them praise. However, as the adrenaline fades and the celebrations abate, the PC's mythic power roils painfully inside them, as if their bodies aren't strong enough to withstand the supernatural forces. With each passing day, the symptoms worsen. If the PCs can't learn to control their mythic power, it will consume them from within. All right. This looks like they're going to track a Hydra. I think they tackled the Minotaur in the first chapter. Kevin R. Smith says, players running cults, this couldn't possibly turn into bad PR. Then we have Fruit of the Gods. It's chapter 2. With information about the next steps of their quest revealed, the player characters now know they have 2 priorities: to fortify their bodies with the legendary ambrosia against a journey into the underworld, and to prepare a holy site that can serve as a beacon and draw them back to the land of the living when they're done. Fortunately, the Sphinx's information gives them enough leads to find the places themselves, though it doesn't tell them much about what they should do after. So it looks like this is where they're going to get the ambrosia. I'm trying to remember, in Greek mythology, ambrosia, I don't think it's honey. I know it's the food that the gods sustain themselves with. All right, so it looks like we've got a temple. There's a caretaker ghost. I will say that the premise of this adventure, at least the adventure path, I should say, seems kind of interesting. Kind of building off of some Greek mythology. Haven't seen that in Pathfinder Adventures before. And this is an adventure path that started off at level 1, which the player characters becoming hero gods, I would have thought would have been a higher level adventure, but no, it starts off first level. So chapter 3, I think I've skipped. Wow, I ran way past it. I'm like, where's the introduction to chapter 3? It's all the way back here. To fields below, to control the mythic power boiling inside themselves, the PCs have obtained fortifying ambrosia and claimed a temple for their growing cult. However, the Sphinx Neshkefru indicated they require one more element to inoculate themselves against their own power: the wisdom of now dead hero gods. To seek these divinities' counsel, the PCs must descend into Emneros, the Iblidian underworld, and survive the return trip. So, any river Styx stand in here? Sean O'Donnell's with us in chat. I say, I don't think Sean was with us at the start. He usually is. So, as the whole mythic rules thing, where do you start off? With a fragment of divinity or something? You know what? I did not review the first chapter of this. In fact, honestly, I am waiting for Sammy to get me the review for the first part of this adventure path. So I don't know. I don't know how it kicks off, because usually I don't really dive on into the stuff that Sammy's reviewing outside of, sharing a first look. Copper Fox Wolf is joining us. Said they're joining us from the UK. So it is. Oh, yeah, that's right. When they popped in last week, yawning. So I thought, oh, are they yawning about what I think it was a news piece I was doing, but they were yawning because it was like late or early for them. Good to see you once again. Thank you. Daryl Eritz also joining us in chat, and Copper Fox Wolf. Thank you for the kind words. Much appreciated. All right. So now we get a bit of a breakdown. It looks probably a gazetteer of a sort for Iblitos. Is that a stand-in for Athens? Maybe. You got the city-states. Then we jump into our adventure toolbox. So we have new ritual, new equipment, new exemplar options, new exemplar feats. Then we'll get into a little bit of a bestiary. The Forgotten Dead. There's a Minotaur. I would think that their stat block has changed. Oh, this is a fire hoof Minotaur. Yeah, I guess I should have noticed the flames, eh? And we have the mythic ruler of the underworld and the Sphinx. So we get two major NPC sections here. All right. And next month, we will see the finale. It is Titanbane. So that is a peek inside Death Sails a Wine Dark Sea, Chapter 2 of the Myth Speaker Adventure Path. So we are going to be moving on into taking a look at the various different Starfinder releases at Gen Con 2025 in just a few moments. But first, did want to mention a few things real quickly. If you are a follower of the Gaming Gang, if you watch us or visit the website, thegaminggang.com, then you already know that the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to head on over to Drive Through RPG, Storyteller's Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, any of those One Bookshelf sites, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do and you'd like to support the outlet, you can do so in one of two ways. You can either make a one-time donation by way of PayPal, maybe buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Oh, that's so packed with deliciousness. It's diet soda, obviously. It's not. Or you can become a monthly member of our Patreon. And of course, there are links in the show notes for both those methods that are available to you as well. So I do want to thank those of you out there who are Patreon members. So big thank you to Gustavo Cobalho, Jason Lahman, Caval, Kevin R. Smith, Marius Smith, Sean O'Donnell, Talzek, Dan Webb, GameCat, Pete Strakolich, RPG Munch, Testy Trekkie, Tier 2 DM, Agile Monk, and the Madman. Thank you very much for being members of our Patreon. And I should also point out, we've got a Discord server. We just got our 101 members, or I guess it would be 101st member to our Discord server. So if you want to hang with the gang, Discord server is free. Now, there are some channels that are for our Patreon members only, but for the most part, the vast majority of it is absolutely free. So we're going to dive on in and take a look at a trio of Starfinder 2nd Edition releases that are hitting at Gen Con. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Hungry, but the ordinary things don't seem to appeal? Then try one of our frozen delicacies. They're taste treats that hit the spot, refreshing and cooling without being too filling, satisfying without being too rich. Give yourself and the whole gang a taste dividend. Select the frozen treat that pleases you. Guess what? Guess what would taste good right now to everyone in the car? Candy. We've got your favorite kind at the concession stand. Come on down and pick out the kinds you want to enjoy during the rest of the show. Be sure to get plenty because everyone likes candy, and our big variety is chosen to please everybody's taste.
Oh, you look like you're having so much fun sitting there at home. And just think, you could be at SeaWorld right now. A summer isn't summer without SeaWorld.
You get 15 giant sandwiches from each tasty giant loaf.
Where are you going to get 15 giants?
I got friends.
Famous Monsters of Hollywood magazine names it Shock Award winner. The Monster of Piedras Blancas. The Monster of Piedras Blancas, the world's most shocking monster, stalks its unsuspecting prey, feasts its eyes on the next victim to writhe in its slimy arms. The screen's most nightmarish beast. A claw-fingered, scaly-skinned, half-human crustacean, turning a lonely lighthouse village into a frenzied bedlam of blood-curdling horror. Never have you known such cringing terror, such drawn by love to the forbidden cove of the sea monster, then trapped in a torment of unendurable suspense. In the screen monsterama of 1,000 incredible... See the movie named the most brain-paralyzing shock story of them all, The Monster of Piedras Blancas.
Batwoman!
You may take your position, 14. Thank you, Batwoman.
You have your instructions, Neon. Carry them out. Neon, you idiotic fool! What do you think you're doing?
You must have switched the glasses, Batwoman. I only wanted to show you how wonderful they are. I only wanted to make you happy.
That's where you make your mistake.
Only the finest trailers available from cinema around the world is what I bring to you. Yeah, it's mind-numbing, all right. The Batman says, brain paralyzing. Check. Rex Fellis is with us in chat. Welcome aboard. All right, so we're going to continue our Paizo preview. Yes, our special Gen Con 2025 edition with a quick first look at the Starfinder 2nd Edition Player Core. This 464-page hardcover will be available July 31st, carrying an MSRP of $69.99. I know pricing's wacky, especially since we just looked at a book that clocks in at 224? Something like that? With the Battlecry? Yeah, I think it was 224. And it's $64.99. I don't make the pricing, folks. I'm just sharing a first look. Now, on the 31st, you'll be able to get this in PDF for $19.99. Ever get the feeling that some of these publishers are trying to shift you into those PDFs? I kind of do. Martin 7W is joining us. That it's been a while since we've seen Martin 7W. Good to see you once again. All right. So once again, I shared a 40+ minute first look video over the weekend for the Player Core. So we're not going to take too much time taking a peek at this. If you want to see more of the Player Core, by all means, check out that video. It's actually doing pretty well. It's, I think, at 5.5 thousand, somewhere around there. I don't think it's at 6,000 views yet, but still not too shabby. Not too shabby. The galaxy needs you. Team up with your friends and star in your own science fantasy epic with Starfinder Player Core. This book has everything you need to create a player character, outfitting them with powerful abilities and gearing them up with magic and technology alike. Prepare to launch into a galaxy teeming with alien worlds, dangerous monsters, treacherous foes, and tantalizing loot. The wonders of space await you. Are you ready? Starfinder Player Core is the definitive entry point for Starfinder 2nd Edition. The book presents 6 classes and 10 ancestries, plus backgrounds, feats, items, skills, spells, and more, all compatible with the Pathfinder 2nd Edition fantasy role-playing game. Sharon says, yikes! Even Trollord Games books roll in under this price. They've said it before, definitely waiting for the pocket version. Yeah, I can understand that. All right, let's dive on in. So we are going to start off with a bit of an introduction. It's going to give us a little bit of info about how you play. Right off the bat, we're going to get kind of a quick guide to how to play Starfinder. We'll get into the rules of the game later on. In fact, it's really the last section of the Player Core. Now, it's important to keep in mind, I had somebody comment on the first look video saying, well, it's nice to see that with Starfinder, it's all just one book. No, this is going to be just like Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Player Core, also have a GM Core, and what do they call it? The Alien, I forget what they call the bestiary. Alien Archive, is that it? I think there's 4 of them. There were 4 of them. So we're going to get into the different ancestries also. So we've got some pretty interesting ancestries here. Obviously, we've got the humans, we've got the Vesk, we've got the, now I'm trying to remember, the insectoids. Syrians? No, not Syrians. That's like a real nationality. Sheeran. And then we've got some versatile heritages. One thing I thought was kind of funny. There you go. Kevin R. Smith says, yes, it is. They are alien archives. There is mention, there's a sentence here that says that there are 8 classes. There are not. There are 6 in this book. And I have heard some grumbling from people saying, they were expecting there were going to be 8. But Paizo Inc. mentioned quite a long time ago that there would be 6 in the player core. And then we have 2 more arriving in one of the first supplements. And I think one of them is I think they're considered mechanists. I don't think it's machinist. It might be, it could be. I think that's one of them. But as far as the classes, we've got some solid coverage here. Got a couple of magic users. We've got a couple of more along the lines of, ass kickers. So Kevin Smith says, of course, they're pretty sure you only need the player core and alien archive to run a game. The GM core is just optional stuff for the GM. Got to be honest, there is really very little in this book about space combat, starships. I don't think there's anything about creating your own starships. So I'm going to take a guess that the GM core might be a little, I'm not going to say you have to have it, but I think it might be a bit more useful. I mean, I personally thought the GM core for second edition Pathfinder was really well done, and there was a lot of useful stuff in there. All right, so about the first half of this is devoted to the player character creation. Of course, once again, one of the big selling points for Starfinder second edition is that it is now going to be compatible with Pathfinder. So you can segue from one game to the next, all the same mechanics. Everything's going to be the same. You're utilizing the same 3 action economy here too. Dale Errett says the upcoming title is Alien Core. Yeah, with the with some of the Prime books from Paizo Inc., they like to just call them core, just like we had the Player Core 2 for Pathfinder. So we're now taking a look at the various different classes. So we've got the Envoy, the Mystic, the Operative, we've got the Solarian, the Soldier, and the Witch Warper. Just kind of give you an idea, this is our Operative here. And as we've gotten used to with Starfinder releases and Pathfinder releases, we do have to set characters based on the certain class that we get to see, like Chick. So we do have our healer, shaman sort of character. We do have our magic using character, our wizard type character. Obviously enough, we've got our soldier. So I understand where some people are coming from, where they're like, I wanted 8 classes. Yes. But you're not going to get shorted. So if you're like, well, I want a character that's more investigative, more of an intelligence-based character. Yeah, you'll be able to do that. Something I always mention about first edition Starfinder, once we had the various different releases come out, it's pretty wild at how many ancestries there are, how many backgrounds there are, different feats. As far as I could tell, and granted, I haven't seen every single role-playing game that's on the market, Starfinder First Edition probably had the most customization available to players as far as player characters. In fact, more so, in my opinion, than Pathfinder, because you had so many more ancestries to choose from. So as an example, I've reviewed the Starfinder Galaxy Guide that has 6 additional ancestries. So once this comes out, if you have the Galaxy Guide, you will have 16 ancestries available to you. So now we're into the gear. So we got weapons, we've got armor, shields, and so forth. Upgrades to weapons, augmentations. We have got loads of spells. Loads and loads of spells. So we've got all our different spell lists. So I'm just going to flip on through. All of this we're taking a look at right now, all spells. Then we get into our rituals. Then we get into playing the game. So we get into our breakdown of the rules on page 389. So it goes through the spell checks, all the I should say DCs. If you're not overly familiar with Pathfinder 2nd edition and now Starfinder 2nd edition, it is a D20 role-playing game. We have our 6 traditional attributes, which essentially give you a bonus or maybe a negative modifier to your D20 roll. We also have different skills. We have feats. So there is complexity here. So there is complexity with Pathfinder 2nd edition. There's going to be complexity with Starfinder 2nd edition. And yes, I mentioned this in my first look video that there are people out there who talk about, oh, it's Math Finder. Yes, there is math, but the reality is there isn't that much more math in Pathfinder or now Starfinder 2nd edition than Dungeons and Dragons. And the sheer amount of additional things you can do, all the various different abilities and feats of various kinds, because, right, you've got class feats, you've got background feats, or I should say, I think it's the archetype feats, ancestry feats, all that stuff that you can do. I think it's a pretty good trade. Pretty good trade, a little more complexity, a little more math. Sean Dow says, looks like Star Builder 2E is planned to be up and running in September or October. Sweet. All right, so as you can see, here is our character sheet. But as far as spaceship combat, creating starships, stuff like that, not much in here. Really not. So, as I mentioned, I'm thinking that GM core is maybe going to be a little more crucial for game masters out there. All right. Like I said, if you want a far more detailed first look at the player core, check out my video plus the first look video. Plus, I have a contest. So if you'd like to win Starfinder 2nd Edition's player core in PDF, I'm giving away 2 copies. You have to watch the video to find out how to get into the running. Next up, we've got the Combat Pad. So as far as I understand, this is magnetic. And this, I think, is you're supposed to track your initiative. I think it's an initiative tracker. So this carries an MSRP of $26.99 when it arrives, July 31st. So, see what we got. That's kind of funny. It's just cardstock, but this is like really solid cardstock. So here's our Combat Pad. So it looks as if so player characters, I think these are player characters. These are NPC. Oh, no, sorry. These are the player characters. So you would take probably a dry erase marker and write the characters' names on here. And here's where we would track our initiative. And we got some arrows here. We also have some conditions. This is kind of interesting. We got some notes you can jot down. And both sides are the same. It's kind of cool. And they stick very nicely. So these are pretty thick too. And you get plenty of them. All right. That is a peek at the Starfinder Combat Pad. I don't know. Is there one of these for Pathfinder? Because I don't think I've run across it. Keithula says maybe there's going to be a separate book for spaceships. Oh, I would take a guess we might get a Starship book, but I'm going to guess that we are going to see the rules in that for like much more detailed rules for Starship combat in the GM core. Just a guess. Just a guess. Sean Dahl says helps a lot with tracking how long a condition runs, so that can get out of hand quickly with all the conditions in second edition. Little Britain's with us in chat. So is Russell Higgins. Good to see you again, Russell. Little Britain says, I have one of those from 20 plus years ago with magnetic strips. So Hector Alvarez keeps complaining, I should say whining about opening this adventure up. So I'm not going to. I'm just going to show you the box. We'll read the back of the box, and we're going to wrap up the show then, because Hector keeps yelling, open it. Told you before, I'm pretty mean to people in chat. So this is Starfinder 2nd Edition, Murder in Metal City Deluxe Adventure. There's actually a Deluxe Adventure coming for Pathfinder. I think it's in September, or is it November? I forget. So Dustin Knight is with us in chat too. Solve a murder mystery on the planet of machines. Greetings, friends. If you're watching this, it's because I've experienced an unexpected shutdown. In organic terms, I'm dead. This strange message. Let's try that again in English. Russell Higgins says, do it. We dare you. All right, let's wrap up the show. I wouldn't do that. This strange message invites our intrepid adventurers to striving in expansive megaplex city on Abalon, the planet of machines. Maybe I should have gotten rid of the shrink wrap so I didn't have the glare I'm trying to read through. There, they gather in a neon-lit establishment surrounded by androids, robots, and aliens of all kinds to meet an old friend. The bartender brings them refreshments and a holographic recording from their mutual acquaintance, now dead. The discovery of their friend's unexpected murder turns these strangers into a crew of unlikely investigators. They'll need to outrun murderous robots, outwit clever foes, and analyze perplexing clues, all while wondering if they're hunting the murderer or if the murderer is hunting them. Murder in Metal City is a deluxe adventure designed for use with the 6 pre-generated first-level characters contained within. It also includes a new playable ancestry. There we go. Another ancestry. I think it's the female character that I shared some art of today. Russell Higgins says spaceship combat is something they thought was lacking in Starfinder First Edition. It was meh. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Murder in Metal City is a deluxe adventure designed for use. Okay, needs everything the GM needs to run the adventure, from tokens and battle maps to special handouts, item cards, enemy statistics, and articles about the people, places, and faiths of Avalon. Welcome to Metal City, but beware, danger lurks in every alley. Hey, speaking of metal, kind of surprised to see Ozzy Osbourne passed away today. Well, okay, I take that back. I wasn't surprised. I was surprised he performed at that show a couple weeks ago because I kept hearing that he was like in really bad shape. And then all of a sudden he was performing. I was like, wow. All right, so it tells us what's in the box. We're going to open this up. I think this might be the new Ancestry. Although she looks like an android, doesn't she? As I pointed out before, Paizo Inc. will send along the PDFs of these releases. And I got the PDF. It's a zip file, right? So I got it for this deluxe adventure. And I was like, because first of all, the zip file for Starfinder 2nd edition just had a placeholder image. I talked about this last week. And then I saw, oh, hey, the deluxe adventure, actually, the file has some size to it. I was like, cool. Well, at least I can take a look at the adventure. Because I thought, well, I'll get a head start on my review for the core book. But like I said, it was just a placeholder. So sure enough, I take a look at the files once I open up the zip, and the adventure book wasn't in this. I was like, wow. I was like, okay. All right, so we got some different cards here. We have tokens. Kind of surprised we have tokens. Does that mean we're moving away from pawns? I don't know. So here it looks like we've got our pre-gens up here. But we have quite a lot of these. I think we got, I was going to say, I think we have a map or two. So here we go. So this is a flip mat, but it's not like the flip mats. Like I just shared the Siege flip mat for Pathfinder. This is just paper. And it does have a treatment to it because you can see the glare, but I would not write on this. I don't think you're going to be able to wipe marker off. So we've got that. And then, well, looks like there's going to be some cold weather adventuring. And looks like that is the wreckage of a spaceship. This is going to carry an MSRP of $39.99. Sean Dowell says it's easier to see what's what with pawns. Yeah, I agree. Although I will say that and I dig the Paizo Inc. pawns that come out. But a lot of times the way they're cut, it cuts off some of the image, which kind of bums me out. And I get it. They can only have so many different sizes and shapes to cut the pawns into, but still, it's kind of like, oh, their laser rifle's cut off or their tail is cut off. See it all the time. Looks like we've got some handouts. We have got player character profiles. Oh, I guess these cards were supposed to be together like so. So we've got that. Okay, so here we have our pre-gens. So we have Lunar 17, who I shared the artwork for in the preview for tonight's show. Move that out of the way. So there is the character sheet. Pretty small. That is holy cow small. I try to read. I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to try to read these notes here. But that is kind of cool. I do like the character sheet. What I would probably do is, make that one side, just make that one sheet, So print these out. So that's a page. Then it would be far easier. Russell Higgins says, not organized for people over 45. Kevin R. Smith says, Paizo probably figures people are used to 2D digital tokens on virtual tabletops. Yeah, probably. I mean, it might be that, because I got to be honest, I haven't really taken a look at any of the adventures for Pathfinder, which are on like Foundry. I'll take a guess. You're probably looking at tokens, not pawns. Russell Higgins says there are two sides to every piece of paper. Yes. All right. So there we go. It is an Android. So Lunar 17 is an Android. Android Mystic. Nitpick Janet. And they are a Isaki. I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced. Witch Warper. Really? I would have not expected that. Old Growth Wildfire is a Hizba soldier. I think that's our new ancestry. Vorza Moonshot is our Vesk Solarian. And then we have Tap Key, our Skittermander Envoy. Wow. Russell Higgins says, I prefer you call me Gen Human. Android is so Star Crash. And then we have Chidana, who is our operative. Sweet. So this is what wasn't in the PDF. So I'm like, oh, great. I can't get a head start on the adventure either because I'm doing the reviews for these new Starfinder releases. And then we have this insert. So they could have made this box a lot slimmer, as you can see. That's what's, I'm pretty sure nothing's under here. No, there's not. So now remember, this is not a starter set. This is a deluxe adventure. So you want to keep that in mind because I think somebody, Sean O'Donnell says, guess they didn't look at any of the Cubicle 7 starter sets. Yeah, but it's a deluxe adventure. I get it. One thing I think is kind of weird though is aren't you going to spoil your new Starfinder 2nd edition players with cards of stuff? We've got NPC cards, right? Like so. And other adventures are going to come out and they're not going to have these. Russell Higgins says, a spacer in a box. It's like getting socks for Christmas. So we have Infiltrator Serum. And then it's going to give us the item info. Smoke grenades. I love how it's got the little smiley face on it. This grenade unleashes a cloud of smoke in a 5-foot radius. Creatures within the area have the concealed condition, and all other creatures are concealed to them. Smoke lasts for 1 minute or until dissipated by a strong wind or similar effect. So we've got micro goggles, breaching gun, consecrated keycaps, plasma sword, plasma cannon, med patch, hacking toolkit, reusable grenade shell, chemalizer, and then we start getting into, well, we had a silent starfall pistol. Then we get into our NPCs. So, yeah, okay. I thought maybe the stat blocks for them would be on the back, but I guess these are handed to the players. So give them to the players when they encounter them. And then we got some handouts. These are just paper, but a lot of them, we've got 20. So I think they're just text. So like an encrypted message log, recording. Yeah, so they look like all of those handouts are text. As far as the production quality, I'd say solid. These cards are nice. They're pretty solid card stock. Like I said, these are just paper. And then these are just paper as well. The tokens were pretty solid as far as their thickness. Little Britain said, I have had DMs go all out handing out handmade character portfolios, item cards, maps, etc. I love it as a player, hate it as a DM, raising the bar like that. I can understand that. Just like early years of Call of Cthulhu, that you would have various different handouts for the players and stuff. And then that kind of spoiled them with other games because they'd be expecting handouts and be like, what are you talking about? I guess, is this for the... Okay, so I don't know what that's for because it doesn't fit around anything. It doesn't fit around these, doesn't fit around those. Don't know. It's kind of weird. Okay, as far as this here, this book is similar to the Adventure Path chapters. So, like we were taking a look at the second part of the Myth Speaker Adventure Path, kind of similar to that. It's got kind of the cardstock cover. We'll just take a peek. I'm going to skip a bunch of pages here so I can avoid most spoilers. So it looks like we've got 3 chapters to the adventure. Cold Case, Seekers and Striving, and Frozen Heart of Abalon. Then we're going to get our NPC gallery, locations, then our articles about the tech faiths of Abalon, and our new ancestry. I would think it's Hazar is how that would be pronounced, but I'd probably be wrong. So this is our introduction, talking about our components here. And then we're going to dive on in. So we already know how the adventure starts. So the player characters are drawn together to a bar, to a tavern. Stalker in the shadows. This adventure is designed for newcomers to Starfinder 2nd Edition and Pathfinder 2nd Edition. So you don't have to have any experience with any of the Paizo Inc. role-playing games in the past in order to jump in. It looks like we get quite a few sections here that are talking about, advice for the GM. Here, GM tip. running. I think that's one of the NPCs. Then continuing the campaign. So altogether, this adventure is 32 pages. That's not bad. Not bad at all. For a introductory adventure, I'd say that's not too shabby. Okay, we've got our NPC gallery. I'm going to just skip past a lot of that. We also had the little bit of a gazetteer. I think these are the aliens and adversaries. So we have a bit of a not gazetteer, bestiary here. Hardlight Dragonet, Mechanized Saboteur. I don't know. I wouldn't think that that'd be so easy to like be moving around quietly. That looks kind of cool. Sworn Blade of Shields. Oh, I guess it's the Jinsol is a race, not an NPC. Here we go. Here's our new ancestry. So it's going to give us a breakdown that we would normally see. That's kind of cool. What are these? Hazar are intelligent plants who live in harmony with nature and have learned to communicate telepathically with other creatures. Hazars evolved in the deep jungles of not even well, I guess I'll try. Ukalam on Casterville, beginning as carrion-feeding plants who hunted dying animals with crude empathic senses and slow, patient movements. Many scientists believe they evolved from the same parent clade as Zarix, who share genetic similarities but lack the complex nervous systems that have allowed Hazars to develop true sapience and the ability to communicate with other species. If you care about the environment or spend time in nature, you might like playing a character of this ancestry. Speak and move slowly or take your time making decisions. Drastically alter your attitude and appearance when the season changes or if you move to a new climate. Okay. Sweet. I got to say, this deluxe adventure doesn't look too bad. It looks pretty decent. And you want to keep in mind that this carries an MSRP of $39.99 when it arrives July 31st. Let's put all the goodies back into the box. And just regular chapters of adventure paths, which will normally clock in probably about 30 pages more than what we were just looking at for that booklet. They're $29.99. So here you're getting some pre-gens, you're getting the flip mats, you're getting the handouts, the cards, the tokens. Not too shabby. This is what we'll come to expect from deluxe adventures. Now, I'm kind of curious because towards the end of the Starfinder first edition run, we stopped seeing the various different like 3-part adventures. So we were just getting one-shot adventures. Now, some of them were hardcover books, but we didn't get like the Pathfinder adventures anymore, where it was 3 chapters or back in the day, 6 chapters for Pathfinder. I'm kind of curious what Paizo Inc. is planning to do, because I haven't seen far enough out if we have like 3-part adventure paths. I should probably take a peek at Paizo Inc.'s website, because the release schedule probably shows up till November, maybe. September. So kind of curious. Showdown says making decisions slowly might be good for certain cautious members of the gang. I wonder who that would be in my gang. Yeah, I wonder. All right, everybody. That is the Paizo preview, Gen Con 2025 edition here on the Dispatch. Of course, stay tuned. You will see reviews of Battlecry. Of course, once again, if you want a deeper look, deeper dive into the Starfinder 2nd Edition player core, check out that video. Be sure to get into the running in the contests I've got going on there too. So the latest Adventure Path chapter, as well as Murder in Metal City, have reviews for all of those in the not too distant future. So on tomorrow's show, we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a look at Mappa Mundi from 3 Sales Studios. I got to say, the artwork to this looks fantastic. Really, really does. So this is a role-playing game of, I think it's exploration and ecology. Yes, an exploration and ecology role-playing game. So this is a box set. I think it's a book and a bunch of cards with like different scenes of this planet or something. But we're going to take a look at this on tomorrow night's show. I'm really looking forward to it because, as I mentioned, some of the artwork I've seen for it is just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. In fact, you'll see one of the pieces of art in the thumbnail for the video tomorrow. So I hope you'll join me to take a peek at that. Thursday's show, I don't know yet. I have no idea what we're going to take a peek at. The new Coriolis book is being shipped out from Free League Publishing. Not going to have it in time to check it out on Thursday, sadly enough. Don't know what to tell you. And I should also mention, August, I am going to try to focus a bit on adventures. So it's going to be an adventurous August is what I'm going to be calling it. So we're going to at least try to aim at getting some more adventure reviews out there as opposed to, core books and stuff like that. All righty, everybody. If you liked the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube. I'll also let you know when I share other videos, such as my recent review of the Paranoia Core book from Mongoose Publishing. I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool, but check out the review if you have not seen it. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, bigger thank you to you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I'm, normally sharing tabletop gaming news, and also when I'm taking a peek at new games or unboxing something, paging through a book, what have you. But of course, I know a lot of folks, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you kindly for taking time out to watch any of the over 2,300 videos here on the channel. It is definitely appreciated. All right, everybody, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you very much for watching. And until I see you next time, certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.